the spiritual data you've been trained to ignore. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I had the honor of sitting down with Giovanna Kennedy, a woman whose spiritual journey and leadership insights are fundamentally shifting how Black professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders understand the relationship between discernment, intuition, and success. Giovanna is not just building businesses or leading teams, she is redefining what it means to lead from a place of spiritual awareness, energetic protection, and divine alignment. Her work is helping people see that the very sensitivities they were taught to hide, to suppress, to be ashamed of are actually the tools God gave them to navigate life, leadership, and purpose with clarity and power. She is creating space for a conversation that has been silenced for far too long. And her impact is helping spiritually sensitive leaders step into their gifts unapologetically and use them as instruments of wisdom, protection, and transformation. And what Giovanna shared with me during our conversation, honestly, it stopped me in my tracks because she said something that I believe every single one of us needs to hear, especially if you have spent years doubting your own inner knowing, questioning your gut feelings, or wondering if you were too sensitive, too spiritual, or too different to succeed in professional spaces. Here's what she said: your spiritual sensitivity and discernment are not a liability in business and leadership. They are one of your greatest strategic advantages when you learn how to trust and steward them. Let that sit for a moment. Because we have been taught, especially as Black professionals and entrepreneurs, to leave God, intuition, and feelings at the door. We've been told to only bring logic, degrees, and data into the boardroom or the business plan. We've been conditioned to believe that if we cannot measure it, quantify it, or explain it in a PowerPoint presentation, then it does not belong in our decision making process. But Giovanna flipped that narrative completely. She said discernment is a form of data, it's spiritual data, a real time God led sensing of people, environments, opportunities, and dangers. Think about that. How many times have you walked into a meeting and felt something was off before anyone even opened their mouth? How many times have you shaken someone's hand and felt a heaviness you could not explain? How many times have you been presented with an opportunity that looked perfect on paper, but something deep inside you said, no, not this one? And what did you do with that feeling? Did you honor it? Or did you gaslight yourself into ignoring it because you could not justify it logically? Giovanna is telling us that energetic sensitivity is not weakness, it's a warning system. Feeling the heaviness in a room, the jealousy behind a smile, or the chaos beneath a good offer can save you from partnerships, hires, deals, or clients that would drain you, distract you, or even destroy what you're building. And here's the one that hit me hardest: isolation is not always dysfunction. Sometimes it is divine strategy. Pulling back from certain circles, events, or spaces is not about being antisocial or arrogant. It can be about God protecting your spirit so you can hear clearly and see clearly in a world that profits from your confusion and exhaustion. So instead of seeing your visions, gut feelings, dreams, and knowing things before they happen as something to hide or be ashamed of, Giovanna wants us to begin considering this. What if this is one of the main ways God is trying to guide your life, your leadership, and your business decisions? Now, I know some of you listening right now are nodding your head because you have felt this your entire life. You've walked into rooms and immediately sensed tension before anyone spoke. You've had dreams that came true. You've known something was off about a person, even though they presented well on paper. You felt God warning you, redirecting you, covering you, and you didn't always have the language to explain it. And because no one around you could explain it either, you started doubting yourself. You started thinking maybe you were overthinking, maybe you were too emotional, maybe something was wrong with you. But what if nothing is wrong with you? What if you are spiritually aware? And what if that awareness is one of the most powerful tools you have been given to protect your peace, build your purpose, and lead with clarity? Let me share three real stories of Black women leaders who trusted their spiritual sensitivity and inner knowing, and how that shaped their success. First, Bazoma St. John. Boz is a Ghanaian American marketing executive who has held C suite roles at Uber, Endeavor, Netflix, and served as chief marketing officer at William Morris Endeavor. But what makes Boz stand out is not just her resume, it's how she leads. Born in Ghana and raised partly in the United States, Boz's early life was marked by cultural transitions and the need to constantly adapt while maintaining her identity. Over time, she learned that trying to blend in diluted her power. She began leading with her full personality, bold style, and inner guidance. As she moved through demanding corporate roles, she leaned heavily on her inner voice and sense of divine timing, even when others did not understand her choices. She has spoken openly about having a strong internal compass and making decisions based on what feels spiritually and intuitively right, not just what appears safe or logical. She pairs that inner knowing with excellent professional skill, using both data and discernment, but she refuses to abandon her intuition just to fit in or appear traditional. She navigated predominantly white, male corporate environments while holding on to her identity as a Black woman with a bold, spiritually grounded sense of self. She made career moves that frequently looked risky or unconventional on paper, like leaving stable positions or high visibility roles because they did not feel aligned. She managed grief, trauma, and personal loss, including the death of her husband, while still showing up as a public leader and executive. She leans into authenticity, vulnerability, and storytelling as part of her leadership style, openly sharing her pain and faith, which helps her connect on a human level with teams and audiences. And because of that willingness to trust nonlinear intuitive decisions, Boz became one of the most sought after marketing leaders in the world, known for high impact brand moments at companies like PepsiCo, Apple Music, Uber, and Netflix. She has been named to various most powerful women and most creative people in business lists by outlets such as Forbes and Fast Company. She authored a memoir, The Urgent Life, sharing her journey through loss, intuition led decision making, and spiritual resilience. Her story validates that Black women can lead powerfully by honoring intuition and inner guidance in corporate spaces, not just logic and credentials. She has shifted narratives around what professionalism looks like, showing that authenticity, spiritual awareness, and vulnerability can coexist with excellence at the highest levels of business. Second, Lovey Ajayi Jones. Lovey is a Nigerian American author, speaker, and digital strategist known for her sharp cultural commentary, best selling books, and advocacy. She often talks about fear, courage, and the internal dread or discomfort that shows up when we ignore what we know we are called to do. She began as a blogger, writing honestly about culture, justice, and everyday life. Over time, her voice gained influence, but with that influence came increased pressure to stay safe and palatable. She noticed that ignoring her inner conviction created more internal chaos than any external criticism ever could. That spiritual and emotional tension taught her that her intuition and calling were not negotiable if she wanted peace. As a Black woman in media and tech spaces, she navigated environments that did not always understand or value her voice, honesty, or culturally rooted perspective. She felt intense fear and self doubt when stepping into riskier spaces like public speaking, advocating for justice, or calling out harmful behavior. She balanced her calling to speak truth with the reality that doing so could cost her opportunities, comfort, or approval. But Lovey came to see fear and discomfort not as stop signs, but as indicators that she is stepping into what she is meant to do. She calls this learning to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. She trusts an inner spiritual and moral compass when deciding when to speak up, write something bold, or take new risks in her career. Instead of suppressing that inner nudge, which for many spiritually sensitive people shows up as restlessness, unease, or repeated inner prompts, she leans into it as guidance. Her TED Talk on discomfort and courage has garnered millions of views globally and positioned her as a thought leader on truth telling and integrity. She has published best selling books, including I'm Judging You and Professional Troublemaker, which blend humor, cultural insight, and spiritual moral conviction. Her brand and business model are now built on authenticity, courage, and the willingness to say what others are afraid to say, all grounded in that inner sense of calling. Lovey's journey shows Black professionals and entrepreneurs that inner conviction and moral spiritual clarity can and should guide our platforms, partnerships, and the risks we take. Third, Morgan DeBon and Blavity. Morgan is the founder and CEO of Blavity Inc., a media and tech company focused on Black millennials and Gen Z. She has spoken about building Blavity by following both strategic insight and a deep internal sense that Black people needed safe, affirming digital spaces where they could be themselves. She started Blavity in 2014 with co founders after noticing that Black students at Washington University in St. Louis naturally gravitated toward each other during lunch. Black Gravity, which became Blavity. That intuitive observation about community, comfort, and energy became the seed for a platform designed to replicate that sense of belonging online. She leaned into what felt right for Black audiences, even when that meant pushing against industry norms. Entering the tech and media space as a young Black woman with limited access to traditional Silicon Valley networks and capital, she faced skepticism from investors and others who did not initially understand the value of niche, culturally rooted digital communities. But Morgan relied on a combination of data and a strong intuitive understanding of what her community felt and needed, what kind of content resonated, what energy they wanted in a space, and what felt safe versus exploitative. She intentionally built a team and culture aligned with the mission, showing sensitivity to the emotional and energetic impact of Blavity's content and products on Black audiences. She trusted her inner sense of timing and opportunities, scaling slowly at first, then expanding into events like Afro Tech and Summit 21 that created in person energetic alignment and community. Blavity grew into a major Black owned media and tech platform, reaching millions of users and hosting large scale events focused on Black tech, entrepreneurship, and culture. The company secured significant investment and became an influential voice in shaping narratives about Black innovation and creativity. Blavity's success proved that honoring the emotional, energetic, and spiritual needs of a community, not just chasing clicks, can be a powerful business model. Morgan's approach demonstrates that sensitivity to the emotional and energetic reality of a community is not just soft, it is essential for building sustainable, aligned, and impactful businesses. So, what do Boz, Lovey, Nace, and Morgan all have in common? They trusted their inner knowing. They honored their spiritual sensitivity. They refused to separate their intuition from their intelligence. And because of that, they built careers and companies that are not just successful, they are aligned. Now, based on everything Giovanna shared with me, Here are three key truths I want you to hold on to. Number one, your discernment is a leadership tool, not a disorder. If you can feel tension, heaviness, jealousy, or confusion in a room before anyone speaks, that's not you being too sensitive. That's God giving you intel. In business, this looks like pausing before signing contracts that don't sit right, reevaluating partnerships that feel off, and trusting the uneasiness you feel around certain people, even when they present well on paper. Start treating your intuition and spiritual sensitivity like a legitimate data point in every major decision. Number two, isolation in certain seasons is protection, not punishment. Pulling back from certain friends, circles, events, or clients does not mean you are failing socially. It may mean you are being spiritually recalibrated. Instead of forcing yourself into spaces that drain you because they are good networking, allow yourself to honor the seasons where God is pruning, separating, and refining you so you can lead with more clarity and less chaos. Say no to misaligned opportunities. Create boundaries around your energy and allow quiet seasons to sharpen your vision instead of rushing to fill them. Number three, your spiritual gifts belong in your work, not just in your private life. The same discernment you use to protect your home and your child can also guide how you structure your business, who you hire, who you mentor, and the clients you choose to serve. You do not have to separate God from your goals. You are allowed to pray over your business strategy, ask for spiritual clarity before a negotiation, and let your inner knowing guide your leadership style. The more you stop hiding your gifts and start integrating them, the more aligned, peaceful, and powerful your professional journey becomes. So here's what I need you to do right now. I want you to think about one area of your life or business where you have been feeling that quiet nudge, that heaviness, that uneasiness, or that repeated inner knowing. The thing you keep trying to pray away or overthink away. What would it look like just for the next 30 days to stop gaslighting yourself and actually honor that knowing? Maybe that means pausing a partnership, creating a boundary, leaving a room that drains you, or finally saying yes to something that's been on your spirit for years. Choose one concrete decision this month where you will let your discernment lead, even if no one else understands it yet. Then watch how God confirms what you already knew. Because here's the truth: you are not broken. You are not crazy. You are not too much. You are spiritually aware. And that awareness, that sensitivity, that inner knowing is not something to hide. It is your compass, it is your protection, it is your power. So stop apologizing for it. Stop shrinking because of it. Stop doubting yourself because the world has not caught up to what God already revealed to you. Trust what you feel, honor what you know, protect what you sense, and lead from that place. Because the world does not need another version of you trying to fit in, it needs the full you, spiritually awake, divinely guided, and unapologetically aligned.